Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Bad news for the New Jersey Devils. Jack Hughes suffers a hand injury after he slipped and cut his hand at a team dinner last night in Chicago. Freak accident. Multiple sources now stressing to me that this was a freak accident for Hughes. The terminology that they threw out there was that it was a freak thing. That's what I keep hearing over and over again. And the source that I spoke to emphasized that it was an accident. That's what they wanted to emphasize there, at least. Um, but this is not good. We kind of all year talked about Jack Hughes's durability, and this does not play into that. This is a freak accident that happened, but nevertheless he is out of the lineup, and that's not good for the New Jersey Devils. The timeline is still unclear. I sincerely believe at this hour that the Devils do not know the sincerity of the Jack Hughes injury and what's going on with his hand. Worth noting that Elliot Friedman, who first broke this story, did say that Team USA hopes that it's not a serious scenario. But that can mean anything. I think every Devils fan hopes that this is, and reporter hopes that this is not a serious scenario for Jack Hughes. But things are dire. Things are dire right now. I think that for a team that's 12-4-1, you still are almost wincing all the time about the injury luck or lack thereof with this team. Couple other details here that I know. I know that there was some confusion about the travel day and what was going on with the Devils this morning. So the Devils did practice today. It was kind of a tight travel window for the team today. I know that they're in the air right now. I know that they did have a brief practice. Sheldon Keefe did not speak afterwards. Obviously, Jack did not practice today. And the team, as it stands right now, is unsure what the pregame plan, if they're going to skate for morning skate tomorrow before they take on the Washington Capitals at Capital One Arena tomorrow in D.C. I will be in DC tomorrow to try to find all these answers. I was not going to go to DC because I wanted to go live right from the buzzer after the Saturday game, but this obviously takes precedent over everything right now. We got to find out what's going on with this Jack Hughes injury. So down there I will go. If anybody's down there and wants to say hello, let's go get a drink afterwards, shall we? But thank you everybody for tuning in to Speaking of the Devils. Things are dire right now with the Devils lineup. The center situation is just brutal. In assuming that Cody Glass is out as well, which we don't know as of right now. The center depth would be Nico Hischier, who's not on his A game right now as well. I think defensively had a good game the other day, but certainly hasn't been on his A game the past couple of weeks. Dawson Mercer, Juho Lammikko, and Luke Glendening. So not great up the middle there. And I'll tell you what, too. I mean, there was some other big news that happened just a couple of minutes ago. Recalled from Utica is Shane Lachance. He's coming up, making his Devils NHL debut. And Connor Brown. So Shane Lachance will join the team in DC. Connor Brown placed on injured reserve retroactively to October 30th. That could mean anything, by the way. That could actually mean that Connor Brown is even closer to returning than we think. He might, be able to make it for this second leg of the road trip because the Devils are splitting that up as we were told last week. But again, things right now not looking good for these New Jersey Devils, even with the 12-4-1 record. It just seems like every day you're almost like cringing, you're almost wincing, like, man, what's next for this team? It just seems like, I feel like the term cursed is kind of overblown in situations like this, but it feels like a bit of injury curse, especially this one. I'm going to set the scene for you a little bit too. I'm driving. I dropped my dog off at my dad's house. Me and my girlfriend going to go have a lovely meal, hit the town in New York City tonight. And then this happens. So I don't know what's going to end up happening. I think the plan is still good to go to New York City, but I don't know. Then I got to go to DC tomorrow. But let's get to your comments, guys. Let's get right here to our friend Rick Roma. Is this a JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul, for those who don't know, freak accident, or is this a bad cut that needs some stitches? Wish we got some clarification. Again, Rick, and I'm going to state this to be as clear as possible. I don't even think the Devils know the exact severity of this injury yet. Just that's the way I'll put it right now. And speculating about it just won't do anybody any good right now. Again, the word that keeps getting thrown around to me is freak thing. That's the two words that keep getting thrown around to me when I reach out to people exactly what happened there. I can confirm as well that Frank the Tank, Barstool's Frank the Tank, was not in attendance to witness this Jack Hughes injury. I know that Daniel Amoya had tweeted that out, but I had also gotten that confirmed on my car ride back from my dad's house. So that is just an interesting piece of journalism that we have to confirm. But as far as the JP, I mean, that was fireworks. I don't know. And I feel like the Giants thing always kind of gets intertwined in here too, because, you hear like, okay, you hear the JPP thing. You hear about the Xavier McKinney with the ATV accident a couple years ago as well. Things like that, kind of keep getting thrown around. But this isn't exactly Jack going on an ATV. This isn't exactly Jack going, and launching fireworks and cutting his hand and just losing fingers that way. This is a freak accident that happened at a team dinner. So that's exactly what it was. Zach Chin says, they found mummies buried underneath the site of the Prudential Center when they started construction. There's no way this team isn't cursed. Look, as far as injuries go, I will say this, every team kind of thinks that they're cursed. The Devils are fourth right now in man games lost to injury, which is high for sure. But you have to understand there's still three teams ahead of you. One and two. When you think about curses, you think about the Sabres and their, 12-year playoff drought, maybe even longer. The Devils have a Stanley Cup appearance in the past, since in 2012, and they've won 3 Stanley Cups in the early 2000s, late 90s. So I wouldn't go as far as to say the Devils are cursed. Tyler Sebas says, not counting the Hughes injury, but we need a new medical staff. How do we have so many day-to-day injuries that turn into weeks/months? Again, I think a lot of that just comes from the fact that, look, the Devils need to be maybe a little bit more transparent with their injury news. There's no doubt about that. We see fans, kind of harp on that a lot. I remember a couple years ago, Fitzgerald had said, I want to say maybe in the trade deadline or some sort of press conference early in the year, he talked about a Dougie Hamilton injury that happened, and what ended up happening was, I asked him, okay, what's the latest on Dougie? And he says, I'll have an update for you in a couple weeks. We'll have an update in a couple weeks. So then exactly 2 weeks to the day, I asked Lindy Ruff, hey, do you have an update on Dougie Hamilton? And he said, I said, Fitzgerald said that he would give us an update and in a couple weeks. And Lindy looked at me and said, how long ago did he say that? And I said, he said that on, the 14th, and it was like the 28th at that point. And Lindy was like, oh yeah, I guess it's been 2 weeks. And they didn't have an update after that. So this is all a long way of saying we need more injury transparency in the NHL. I understand this one. This is a bit of a fluky one and a weird one, but yeah, very odd. Michael Quinn says he will be day-to-day till President's Day. Seems to be a lot, I mean, the Connor Brown one is the weird one that that comes to mind when you think of that. This is a guy that started day-to-day on that West Coast road trip, which is what? Creeping on a week and a half ago now, maybe 2 weeks ago. So, you don't like to see that. You want to see things a little bit more transparent. Zach Chin, isn't it ironic that we're sponsored by RWJ Barnabas Health? Yeah. In terms of injury luck this year, for sure, things are not going well now regarding Rick Roma just talks about how exhausted he is. And I want to know, guys, what do you think? And let me know in the comment section below. Are you do you how do you think this team can sustain this? We all talked about coming into this year. I feel like every season preview for the Devils or every national season preview that gave a big question, pressing the Devils on entering the season. The big question was, can Jack Hughes stay healthy? Or it would be, the Devils could be a really good team this year. ... If Jack Hughes stays healthy. Well, Jack Hughes isn't healthy right now. We don't know the timeline of this. We don't know the timeline of this sucker. Can the Devils survive this? With the center depth they have right now, we'll see. I mean, things are going to get ugly. I know that Washington's kind of been up and down to start the season. We'll have to see how that ends up, tomorrow's game ends up going. But not looking too optimistic here. There needs to be a trade. Fitzgerald needs to make a trade at some point here soon. You've got Ryan O'Reilly there in Nashville that's getting emotional at the press conferences, talking about he's only had one good season. Maybe he's somebody that would waive a no move clause to come here. He would be an excellent fit. He would be an excellent fit once this team gets healthy too. That third line would just be so daunting to face if you're an opposing team. This team needs to make a trade because this center depth is not going to do it right now. I will remind you folks that it is Nico Hischier who has not looked like himself over the past couple weeks. It's Dawson Mercer, it's Juho Lammikko, and it's Luke Glendening. Does that sound like a team that can sustain this kind of success? I don't think so. Duck Duck Gaming says the franchise is cursed. Dylan was right. Sage, the Prudential Center. I'm not going to disagree there. Yeah, you gotta. The Sage has to come. We gotta sage that room. I mean, this is bad. Let's see. Dabble asks, do we know knife versus something else? I think by parsing everything, I think it's safe to assume that it was a knife. It sounded like it was a slip and cut from a knife. Again, don't want to speculate. And there's a bit of a hush hush nature around this. Like some, I think it's like a when things like this happen, especially if it's like a team setting, when it's like a team dinner kind of thing. There's this attitude to keep that all in house and keep it within the team. And injuries in the NHL in general, like really just want to keep it within the team and everything like that. We know it's a hand injury. We know they were at a team dinner. We know that they were at what looks like a steakhouse, thanks to Frank the Tank's post there. It's not a leap to assume that this was some sort of knife incident, but again, that's pure speculation. I'm not going to see exactly there, and I can confirm that it was a steakhouse that they were at last night. Andrew Calor just asked, "What is happening?" I don't blame you, Andrew. That's the vibe right now. Michael McSherry asks or says, "Watch the Devils lie about the severity like they did last year to sell tickets." I don't know which one you're referencing last year, just because I mean, I guess maybe it was the other Jack Hughes injury last year, maybe the shoulder one. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what this ends up being. I can just say this right now. I don't even think the Devils know what the severity is right now. That's based off everybody that I've spoken to. I think things are still being evaluated. Again, I will be traveling down. I got an early morning now. Gonna go get fill the gas tank now. Get down to DC. If anyone's down there, please again let me know. I want to hang out with my folks in DC. I'm going to try to figure out what the severity is here, and we'll try to get to the bottom of this story. And this is a weird one, guys. Again, I will say this. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys are the same. Friday night, Friday evening, you guys are about to get ready to your Friday night plans, something like that. I personally was going to the city with my girlfriend. It's up in the air. That's happening now. But then this happens. I see the Elliot tweet, and then I see in the head, I'm like, oh, okay, Elliot Friedman tweet with just a link. Like maybe this will be, like a fun little. I love when he does the written 32 thoughts, because they're always so like it's always like an added little treat after the audio version, which I love. But the written ones are always like a nice little like added bonus to it. I saw the Jack Hughes headline, and I was like, or the Jack Hughes picture. I was like, oh, and then I read the headline. I was like, oh, okay. I was driving at the time, so I didn't see my texts were blowing up before that. John Michael just says Ryan O'Reilly, and we talked about him. We talk about him quite a bit on this show. Yeah, Ryan O'Reilly indeed. Let's move on. Andrew Calor says laughable at this point with the injury curse. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not looking good. Let me know this, guys. Does my camera look really weird on the mobile version? If you're watching on the app, let me know, because I'm looking at this preview and it's just bonkers. Like you're just like really close up on my face. So let me know if that's the case, because that is really bad looking. Anyways, we move on. The chat moves on. Sorry, I just lost my place in the chat. Andrew Calor. Noah says they literally need to perform the Ted Lasso scene with lifting the curse. I haven't seen Ted Lasso, but I imagine that's something that we will see. I imagine there's probably a humorous scene about that or something like that. But I know that, I mean, I just keep invoking the Brendan Dillon thing. Sage the team. This is not good at this point. Dabble says if they don't know at this point, it has to be a tendon thing. It would be stitches and ice at this point. Again, at this point, with the lack of clarity that we have in this situation, I don't necessarily blame you for, if you're a fan and you're speculating. I'm certainly not going to sit here and speculate exactly what the severity is here. I'm going to use logic to assume that they were at a restaurant called Chicago Cut, and I mean, this is a pretty bad Chicago cut for Jack Hughes there. I'm assuming that this was some sort of knife incident, but again, like I'm not gonna make any assumptions there. I'm not gonna make any leaps there. We'll just have to see. And again, I'm coming down to DC to try to figure out some of these answers. We shall see. Scott Melski sliced tendon is a few months. Again, we will have to see. Andrew Calor adds a little levity to what is a bad situation. He couldn't have had his steak pre-cut. We will see. Yeah, I mean, clearly not. It's something that you don't assume to end up being an issue there. And it's obviously like look, like I think that again, I don't blame people for also trying to bring levity to what is a pretty bizarre injury situation, but at the same time, this is a very unfortunate one. I mean, Jack's obviously at the top of his game and has off to such an excellent start, and you don't want to see him out of the lineup. This is just a bummer. This is a very big bummer for the Devils. Let me see. Okay, apparently mobile looks good, so that's good. Noah says, does this make the not afraid to get a big fish via trade turn into act fast and make a deal? It's a time will tell kind of thing. I always was of the belief that because of how inactive the trade market was this summer, that I thought that we might see some trades, kind of the dam burst on the trade bubble kind of happen a little bit earlier than anticipated in the season. But clearly that hasn't happened yet, and it's still very early in the season, obviously. Um, I'll say this: if Nashville keeps collapsing and they don't have a good record right now, go out there and go try to trade for and call the phone, like blow him up, blow Barry Trotz's phone up. Fitz, you have him on speed dial, I'm sure. Blow his phone up, try to get a Ryan O'Reilly or another center that's out there to try to cushion the blow. Guys, make sure to like and subscribe. We have a lot of people in the live right now, and I very much appreciate that. Please like and subscribe. We do these after every game, and they're so much fun. Tomorrow's game will be of particular note, so we'll have a blast after that one tomorrow to try to flesh out all the information there. Maybe we even go live after practice if they do practice tomorrow. Whatever Keith speaks, we might go live after that. Dime Season says he'll be in DC as well. Dime Season, hit me up if you can on Twitter. Tag me on Twitter, and maybe we'll go do something. Nico Frederico says Devils should consider trade. Oh, wow. Okay. Hot take of the century right here. Devils should consider trading Jack. He's great when healthy, but all right. Listen, Nico, come on, man. Let's not get ridiculous here. They're not trading Jack Hughes, and they would be foolish to trade Jack Hughes. That is a ridiculous take. First of all, I mean, do we need to add the shot there about the prepubescent Swedish boy? A, that's a bit of a cheap shot. And two, this is a freaking accident, dude. This is not Jack Hughes. Look, and I'll say this. I'll be the first to admit I was the one that kind of, pressed Jack about that in the preseason, about his shoulder injuries and should he have done something different in the offseason to try to prepare for it differently. And I don't know. Like I don't know if he should do something different. I'm just asking him the question so that we can, because he's had 2 shoulder surgeries now and a bunch of season-ending shoulder injuries. I'm asking the question to ask him, do you think you need to do something different? But in regards to a freak accident, come on, Nico, what are we doing here? You can't question his injury or his, injury proneness based off that. Come on, let's get serious here, Nico. Come on. Joey Fivehold trademark says, guys, this can't be real. That seems to be the sentiment among all fan base, the whole fan base right now. Andrew Kalor says Ryan O'Reilly just became urgent. I'll say this too. If he becomes urgent, that's also not the best sign because maybe, Trotz is going to know that. Trotz can use that as leverage to be like, all right, like, I don't know. This is not, it's just, bad signs all around. Dime Season, would the Devils calling up LeChance speak to Glass's health? I think this is more, and again, this is kind of just my read. My phone is on Do Not Disturb, so I could, I could have a bunch of text messages about this, stuff like that. My read on the situation is a lot of times when things are retroactive, like that just means that they can get off injured reserve earlier. So I actually think this might be good news for Connor Brown. I could be dead wrong, but this is just me speculating and trying to analyze the situation. Perhaps this ends up being good news for Connor Brown. Maybe he ends up making this second leg of the road trip. The Devils are coming back on Monday. The Devils are coming back from this first leg of the road trip by Monday. They'll skate here on Monday. And then they're going to go and whatever the road trip they have after that, the Florida one, they're going to end up doing that. But maybe Connor Brown and Dougie end up going back on that trip. I know that some people were optimistic about that. Jay Snow, moving on, says, we are in deep shit. Lou from Peru says, we are cursed. Unbelievable. Jay Snow, come on, there's way more to this story. I'm sure there is. But again, it's just one of those things that, people are kind of being hush-hush about right now, probably just because this is it happened at a team dinner, and I understand that they like to be a little sensitive to that, whatever. That's like that's like a hockey team kind of thing. I understand it. I hate it as a journalist, but trying to dig through it and figure out what's happening. But the team right now, again, I can't stress this enough. I just don't think that the team knows the exact severity of it right now. Bill Baker, terrible, but oh my gosh, I'm sure you're laughing maybe in like an ironic, like what the hell, like we're already fourth in man games lost to injury, and now we got to deal with this. So yeah, set the scene. I want to know what you guys were doing when you guys saw this. What your first gut reaction is? Please let me know. John Michael says time to get Ryan O'Reilly. Yeah, that seems to be the sentiment right now. Jay Snow, he went to the hospital right after, I'm sure. Yes, and that's why he missed our friend Frank the Tank, who retweeted our live. So I appreciate that, Frank. Thank you so much for giving us a retweet there. Jay Snow, I thought it was a joke when I first read it. Yeah, that seems to be, that's another common theme with this comment section. Again, like I remember in the car, kind of got that notification from Elliot Friedman, who broke the news. And I like the way Elliot frames it, because he's like, very unfortunate situation, and it's true. It's a very unfortunate situation. Just a shame, because Jack was having such a good start to the season as well. Dabble says there has to be at least concern when it's worse than stitches if we don't fully know yet. We'll have to see. Again, I'm not gonna go in and speculate on that there, Dabble. Try to find out as much information as I can for you guys tomorrow on the road in DC. We will see what happens. We'll be going live here, so make sure to like and subscribe. We'll be going live after. Hopefully they skate tomorrow. That'd be nice. And we'll see what ends up happening, what the team publicly has to say about it, what some people say, maybe anonymously or something like that. We'll try to figure it out. Let's see. It's a similar sentiment here from NJD 1224. Chizich says, pretty sure they would describe this as a minor cut if he wasn't at risk of an extended timeout. But I also think, like, the one pushback that I'll give on that, Chizich, is like maybe they're truly unsure. And again, like, we're all just like spitballing here. This is not even me defending the team or anything. They just, maybe this is one of those things where they're not sure and they don't want to give false hope, where there's, because I know that today was such a busy travel day, so maybe there wasn't enough like diagnostics running there. I don't know. Point being, like, this is just an unfortunate situation all around. This is just a really terrible situation all around that you don't want, you never want to see, especially from your star player. Max Peninoff says, if the team wants a steak cutter, tell them I'm game to travel with the team. Minimum wage, I'll take it. There you go. Devils, if you're hiring a steak cutter, there you go. Denise Brown says this team is exhausting. I find it so funny that this team is 12-4-1, near the top of the NHL standings right now, and every game just feels like almost like walking on eggshells kind of situation, or like like an exhale that you got through it or something like that. Very interesting to see. Captain THC. Wow. I didn't realize. Okay, there you go. Captain THC. You're not going to know anything about Jack's injury until the Devils are ready to announce him themselves. Go enjoy your life. The Devils will be okay until he's back. Gotta try. You don't know if you don't try, and do or do not. There is no try. So, we're going to try to do. We're going to try to get, or we're going to, I guess, yeah, there is a try. You're going to try to get to the story tomorrow in DC, because there's no telling if we can. Jay Snow says behind Nico is the worst center depth. And even Nico right now is not off the top of his game right now. I will acknowledge and I'll concede that he's had some tough competition here to face in the first early goings of the season. But you want to see Nico Hischier kind of at, peak performance. Let's see if this can maybe get him to step up a little bit. And there's people even, asking me in the comment section all up and down, is Nico hurt right now? And is he playing through something? Because he hasn't looked like himself necessarily over the past couple of weeks. We will have to see what ends up happening. Ryan Demand, thank you. I'm sure that's just your name too. Great name. The team will be fine without Jack. That is a Zach. Everybody else is zigging and saying that that the team is doomed without Jack. And here's Ryan Demand saying that the team will be fine. We will see. Captain THC, there are no such things as curses. I tend to agree with that, and I feel a similar way about like jinxes and everything like that. I don't know. Till he comes back. Easy says, take my hand. I think there's a lot of Devils fans that would give up their hand right now. Kyle Meeks says, can you just explain to me what happened again? I am so lost. Yeah, I'll kind of reset my initial reporting off the top here, and that's that. I mean, sources confirmed, and the Devils did confirm that there was an incident at the team dinner last night, and the Devils didn't outright confirm that, I guess, but they did place Jack, and they announced that Jack would be out for at least tomorrow's game. Sources described it as a freak accident to me. They used the word freak thing to describe it. I don't think that at this hour the Devils know the sincerity of the injury. Worth noting that Elliot Friedman, in his report, Elliot Friedman broke the story that he said Team USA hopes that it's not a serious scenario, but that also could mean anything. That, I think a lot of people do hope that this is not a serious scenario. Devils fans, Devils reporters, Devils employees alike. Today was a tight travel day for the team. They did practice, had a quick practice. Keith did not speak afterwards. No one on the team spoke afterwards. The team is unsure what's going to happen and what their practice plan is tomorrow. The timeline on Jack is unclear at this point, and the center depth at this point is very lacking right now, if you will. Heischer is the top line center. Mercer, Lamico, and Glendening. Long story short, to put a bow on all that, Kyle Meeks, the Devils need to go out there and go get themselves a center. Captain THC, we're off to Neverland. Shiver Me Timbers says, did he also manage to separate his shoulder? Okay, that's a bit of a cheap shot at Jack. I think a lot of people coming out of the woodworks right now, and dunking on Jack for this. I will stress that this is a unfortunate situation for the kid. One of those things you never want to see happen to your star player. And this would not constitute the injury prone angle that a lot of people throw at Jack. I don't think so at all. Max Pendenoff, ever since we put that damn patch in the jersey, it's been injury bug city. I think the Devils have always had pretty bad injury luck, especially in recent years. So I don't know if this is a patch thing, but definitely the irony a little bit in there with the RWJ Barnabas thing being on their thing. Nick Santola, Yankees, Devils, Giants fan. All I know is injuries. I feel like every team thinks that, though. Every fan thinks that their team is the most injury-riddled team. And then you look at the injury, like Man Gabe's lost injuries, it's like the Devils aren't even the worst one. Now, granted, they're up there, they're fourth, so I guess you can quantify them as being part of, in the top echelon of cursed teams injury-wise, but yeah. Shiver Me Timbers, can you ask the team how many fingers he has left? I guess, maybe, like, I think they might have told us if Jack Hughes lost a finger. I'm sure Jack's fingers are intact. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Jack's fingers are intact, but I have not seen that for sure, so I cannot say with 100% certainty. But I'm not going to sit here and speculate that Jack Hughes is missing a finger. I'm just not going to do that. Max Pendenoff, we must appease the Egyptian. Oh my gosh. Hey, it's Chris, dude, I'm tired. Then Chris, go to bed. No, I'm joking, buddy. I understand. I mean, look, like this has been it also feels, I think that the revolving door nature of the Devils injuries has not helped their case to start this season. It's like one guy will come back, or two guys, well, in this case, and most recently came back, and Cody Glass and Zach McEwen, they come back from injury, and then it's like they immediately get, they look really good, and then they immediately go down with another injury against Chicago the other night, and oh, by the way, now it's Jack Hughes that they're dealing with a freak accident too. That's not great. Jay Snow, the scoring is probably going to be rough when we've been grinding points lately, and Jack looks that first line was excellent. That first line was excellent the other night against Chicago. That was one of the best games of the year too. Just a shame that we're not going to see, be able to see that going forward. Mikey Mike, how serious is the injury to Jack? Again, there's no telling right now. I don't think that even the Devils know at this point. And I'm going to stress that once again. More to come tomorrow, guys. More to come tomorrow. Let's see. Cranman says, I feel like the last 4 games they were already grinding to get to OT. A lot of OT games recently to at least get a point, and they were lucky enough to go 3-1. I don't know how they tread water now. The one thing that gives me hope, I suppose, is that this team has been so good at adjusting this year. This coaching staff's been so good at adjusting this year to where your blue line is battered. And, while it was rough on the West Coast, I think that they improved after that, and things have looked really positive of late in that department, even with a really, that bottom line is there. That bottom pair is like, who the hell are these guys? Nationally across the league, probably. That's probably the sentiment there. Um, until this coaching staff proves otherwise, that they can't be trusted to adjust, then I would have to just say that I'm pretty confident that in their ability to adjust even without Jack Hughes. And I know that things, went for the worst whenever he gets out of the lineup. There's no doubt. Like, this team is an injury way. Like, it similarly to like Edmonton being a Connor McDavid injury away from being a kind of a middling team there. The Jack Hughes are or the Devils are a Jack Hughes injury away from being a sort of middling team. Let's just see how they kind of survive this. Let's see what their schedule looks like over the next couple of games. So they have Washington tomorrow. So it's Washington, the Lightning, and the Panthers. Uh, Lightning are hot right now. Panthers, I think are both the Lightning and Panthers are pretty hot right now. Washington, I think, is a little lackluster. Yeah, they're 8-1. They're at the bottom of the Metro. So we'll see. Maybe the Devils can get a win tomorrow night. We shall see what ends up happening there. But guys, that will do it for this stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure, if you're not a subscriber, to like and subscribe. We do this after every game. We're going to be doing this tomorrow after we talk to Keith and everything like that about before the pregame. And then we are going to do this once again after the game tomorrow. So be sure to tune in. I will tweet out the links and we will see you there. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.